Hello, I'm Michelle.
And I'm Laura, and this is the Pair Entrepreneurs Club podcast, a weekly show to help you navigate the demands of being a working parent.
We will share lots of practical ideas, hints and tips, and our own and others' experiences with juggling work, family, health and finances. Above all, we want to help you find your purpose, define your identity, and banish any confidence gremlins that might be holding you back from the life you dream of. No matter whether you have children or not, there will be something here for you. Let's get started.
Hello listeners, and thank you for joining this week's episode of the Pair Entrepreneurs Club podcast. Michelle and I'm one of the co-founders of the club, and today I am joined by Rebecca Galligan. And Rebecca is a professional home organiser and stylist based in Woodstock in Oxfordshire. Rebecca started the business 2 years ago, which is Rebecca's Home Sorts, after she had an invertent 4-year career break. And her background was in marketing, and she's got a phenomenal career history, having spent 14 years working in the toy industry. So thank you, Rebecca, for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We've obviously spoken several times now through social media, and it's been fantastic to get you on our podcast. I think it's going to be a great insight into a bit about you and your business. So if it's okay just to start with, are you okay just to give our listeners a little bit of a backstory around your family setup and your journey into Rebecca's Home Sort?
So, yes, I live in Woodstock in Oxfordshire with my husband Finn and our 2 children. I've got a little boy and a little girl. He's 5.5 and she is 3.5. And prior to children, I was working for Mattel. I worked in the toy industry for 14 years. Before Mattel, I was at a couple of agencies as well, sort of in brand development. And I had an amazing career at Mattel. I never thought I would leave. Obviously planned to go on maternity leave in January 2018 when my son was due. And the plan was always to have 12 months off. He was booked into a local nursery and off I went and had Tian. But before I left for maternity, I was made aware that there was going to be some restructures and changes while I was off, but I didn't let that sort of dampen my my experience of maternity leave. So yeah, I had Tian at the end of January and enjoyed my year at home with baby number 1. And as the year went on, you know, sort of approaching back to work and thinking, oh, I wonder what the role will be. And I went and had my meeting with HR before my return. And as sort of potentially predicted, there wasn't a role at my level available. But this sounds really big-headed, but I'd been there a long time. They didn't want to lose me, and I was offered a couple of maternity contracts as a way of temporarily getting me back into the business and see what happens. So I weighed up my options, looked at the roles. One of them was a role that I had done previously that was high stress, a lot of travel. You know, I absolutely loved roles like that before having a family. But I just didn't think it was going to work with our new sort of setup at home. Also, I was living much further away from the office. So, yeah, long story short, I took redundancy. And we decided with that to sort of budget and that I could stay at home and have an extra year with my son, which I feel very lucky that I was able to do. Then we actually got married in the November that year with a 10-month-old, which was interesting. And after the wedding, we then fell pregnant with Imogen, our second child. So she arrived just before COVID, so I think she was 5 weeks old when we went into lockdown. And I had whilst I was pregnant with her and knowing that I wasn't going back to my previous job, I had started seeing a careers coach, which I got as part of my redundancy. And I'd sort of explained my situation and that actually I wanted to I needed to work on my CV and LinkedIn and things like that. I did a bit of networking. The toy industry is quite incestuous, and people move around and everyone knows everyone. So I've been putting the feelers out with a view to setting up something on my own post second baby, possibly consulting or some contracting. And that was the plan, but then Imogen arrived and then COVID happened. So I'd had sort of my mum on hand to help with childcare, but we ended up not starting any work that year, and I spent the next sort of year and a half or whatever it was at home, as did the rest of the population and the rest of the world. So my freelance marketing plans were put on hold, and I just made the best of the situation and enjoyed, being at home with my family. We spent a lot of time during those lockdowns, as I'm sure everyone did, in their homes, changing things around the home. We'd gone from 2 of us in our little house to suddenly 4 of us, and all of the kit and caboodle that comes with having kids. And I've always been into interior design and, aesthetics and rearranging the furniture. My mum used to say I rearranged my bedroom as a teenager all the time. And I'm organised. I am a bit of a neat freak. But what I did during those lockdowns was a lot of decluttering, getting rid of stuff, reorganizing spaces, zoning rooms. We don't have a playroom. At the time, my 2 children were sharing a bedroom. So it was sort of like, where does the pram live and where are the toys going to be? And all equally sort of sorting out the kitchen. And I mean, I love doing that. And I got so much satisfaction out of it in my own home. And it was putting systems and things in place that really made our life better, easier. Kids could find toys, etc. And I just thought, I love this. And I think I could do this for other people. Not everyone's wired like this. I can help people fall in love with their homes again and feel, do a job. I feel sometimes it's a bit like Mr. Muscle, like loves the jobs you hate. Why would other people want to spend their days off or their weekends reorganizing their kitchens, utility rooms, playrooms, what have you? And so, that was the sort of the idea. And there was some planning and things going around in the background. My husband works in marketing as well. So we did all the assets and branding and websites ourselves, and launched 2 years ago. November 2021.
Reaching your anniversary. So how did you get your first client? I mean, I guess that's what every small business owner kind of puts the pressure on, don't we? We kind of wait and wait and wait. And how can you remember what happened? Was it?
And I'm trying to think whether the first client came before the website or if the website came first. My everyone knows that I'm kind of meticulously organised, known for planning and things like that. But actually, trying to launch a business when you've got kids, not everything works in a sort of perfect linear plan, idea, launch way. And I was, my husband had to sort of say, look, let's just get started. Not everything has to be perfect and ready. You don't need the website, the business cards, the what have you. So I can't remember. I think maybe my first client did come first before we'd done that. And she was actually a fellow local school mum. But through the grapevine, or I think we were at a soft play or a kid's birthday party, but someone else had been chatting to her and said, oh, Bex is starting doing this and blah, blah, blah. And there was a lot of sort of whispering. My ears pricked up. And I did know her previously, but she came and spoke to me and said, oh, I think I really need your help. And so she was my first client, and I did several rooms over sort of several weeks, months. I sort of started off, I think it was with a sort of playroom, living room, and then sort of I did a utility room and did more and more spaces. And it just sort of grew from there, really. Initially, a lot of it was local. I was posting I'd set up an Instagram and a Facebook business page. I wasn't hugely active on either, to be honest. It's a bit chicken and egg, because you almost need the clients and the before and afters and the content to get going. But our local Facebook group here lets you promote your own business every Thursday, and so I'd done posts on that had got clients. And again, I had another local client who I basically did her whole house, and then a lot of it was word of mouth and recommendations. And then as I was more and more active on Instagram, I would get inquiries that way. Also through my website, I've got an inquiry form on there for people to get in touch.
I think that's great advice from your husband, because we talk about that with our clients. I think sometimes you can overthink it, and you put so much pressure on yourself. One, there's an investment, isn't there, sometimes, to do the time or the cost of getting an IT person to do the website. And actually, as you say, sometimes it's that word of mouth that speaks volumes, the referral piece. If someone can do it and you do a great job, and actually then, I was very much that situation for my first year. I was building the website alongside doing my business, exactly like you, because actually people were saying, oh, Michelle can do this. And the work came in that different perspective. So I guess, obviously quite a few of your clients, I guess, are working parents, and we're in that situation where I know, I put the pressure on myself, and I think if you live closer, you'd be here in the flash, because, my organisation, I like to think I'm organised. I don't have the time to do it, and as much as I'd like to, and I think that's a fantastic offering, isn't it, to your service?
Exactly. It's creating, it's giving you back the gift of time, because if I can do things like this for you, then you can, use your weekends, half terms, days off to do other things, or spend time with the children, or relax if you get the opportunity to relax, which I know is rare when you're running your own business. But no, I absolutely love it. And, every client is different. Every job is different. I've done, as I said, a lot of my clients are people like me, busy working mums, juggling family life, kids, jobs. It's a lot of kitchens, utility, kids' rooms, playrooms, decluttering, sorting out toys or clothes and things like that. But equally, I've done, some sort of gorgeous, walk-in wardrobes and, Pinterest worthy like pantries and larders and things like that, which is great as well. But that's not what home organisation is about. I think one of my sort of mantras is progress, not perfection. I love a good before and after, whether that's photos, reel, video, whatever. But it's about being realistic and putting in solutions and systems to help people in their situation. I'm passionate about sort of sustainability as well. I love shopping secondhand, and for secondhand storage as well, for my own home and for clients if they're into that, especially if they're into like wicker, rattan, wood, trunks and things like that. But I always try to reuse what clients have got before recommending shiny new things, because it's more than just having these beautiful pictures. It needs to be realistic and livable and maintainable. Are you going to sort of fold all your kids' clothes like they're in a shop and put them back in? Probably not. Now, I can do that for you the first time, but equally it's using systems, often drawers and tubs and things for kids, that are a bit more realistic for them to find things and put away. So yeah, I'm really passionate about being sort of realistic with the way that I help clients.
I think that's perfect. Like that how you said it, that progress first perfection is hit the nail on the spot. So how do you bring that through? Because obviously, having worked in marketing, and social media is slightly, has its pros and it has its cons. And I think for me, some of that con stuff is that perfectionism that's there, isn't it? These perfect people that we see. How do you relate that to your business? Like, how do you kind of overcome some of that, or is it kind of?
I find that really hard, and I think and it's been a learning curve, as I said. Rebecca's Home Sort's 2 years old almost, and when I first launched, I'm trying to think now, what were those photos at the bottom of my grid? But I feel like everything was very much on brand. Rebecca's Home Sort and like pretty pictures. And that's because, you know, I was launching my own business and you want everything to look like perfect from the off. And, you know, it's how people find you. But it's not, for me, certainly, juggling work and kids, it's not sustainable. You know, I cannot, my background's in marketing. I know how important branding and consistency and things like that are. But if I only shared videos or photos or content that was perfectly on brand, that had been curated, you know, Canva's great, but, you know, used in Canva, I would never post anything if I waited to have everything that perfect. I think there's something to be said for just trusting your gut and being intuitive and like getting stuff out there and not being so hard on yourself about having everything sort of perfect all the time. I think Instagram as well, you know, everyone says Instagram versus reality. You know, you see a lot of perfection or aspirational images, but also people like to see the sort of more rough and ready and realistic and behind the scenes sort of view and content as well. I remember listening to a podcast a while ago, probably over a year ago, and it was about intuitive marketing. And for me, it was so reassuring to hear somebody else, an expert in their field, say, I don't plan my social media content. Because I think when I started the business, I thought, oh my God, I need a calendar. I need to, you know, everyone says, oh, the algorithm, and you need to post daily. And it's like, I have not got the headspace for that. Maybe in the future I will, when the kids are a bit older and more independent. But at the moment, it's like I post what I want when I want. And I try to just be kind to myself and continue to be me and authentic and not worry about what I could or should be doing, and try not to compare to what others are doing, though that is really hard.
Yeah, I think that's spot on, isn't it? That authenticity piece, but it's what your drivers and motivators are. We've talked about this quite a lot because everyone's different and everyone's map of the world is different, and you know that we a huge part of our NLP coaching that we do with clients. But you forget that, and you do on social media naturally do that natural comparison. But if you're getting the flexibility, you're spending time with your children, you're also earning the money that you're comfortable with, then actually why put the pressure on? And like you say, why sit there till midnight? Because in your head, someone's told you you've got to write a social media plan.
Yeah.
Because you kind of lose what you set your business up to do, don't you, if you're not careful? You do put the pressure on.
It's really, it's a hard, well, it's a juggle, it's a balance. And I think I'm getting better at it in terms of just, you know, doing what I can when I can. And, you know, so far, so good. You know, I've got work, I've got enough clients coming in, and, you know, I feel like I've built a foundation that is scalable. And when I've got more time and effort and I am more active on social media, or I put things out there, I do then reap the rewards. So it's a sort of dial up, dial down. But at the moment, with the age of the kids and childcare arrangements and things like that, you know, half-term holidays, for example, and long summer holidays, I try not to work, or I may do a handful of days here and there. And then you sort of worry, oh my goodness, is everything going to drop off a cliff because I'm not being as out there and things like that. But actually, I think Easter this year, I took a proper break, and I feel like I reaped the rewards afterwards. It was a tough decision to make. I think I did an out of office post. We went down to Cornwall for a week. And even though haven't got any clients, I wasn't planning to share any content while I was away. I know that if Instagram, Facebook, whatever was on my phone, there'd be a temptation to look. And, you know, I follow other sort of similar businesses in my industry. I follow other pro organisers. I follow local businesses to sort of, you know, communicate and collaborate with. And that would have all added to my stress. So I posted an out of office. I think I said it was for a week. And I actually deleted social media off my phone. I took all the apps off. And it was a proper, you know, week break. If it wasn't for having the camera on my phone and wanting photos and memories of my family holiday, I wouldn't have even wanted to take my phone. And it felt amazing, so much so that when we got back, I wasn't ready to like come back online. I just felt like I needed to extend that pause for a bit and get my mojo back, because there's nothing worse than posting stuff because you feel you have to. I think audiences can tell whether it's sort of a bit robotic and there just because, or whether there is actually something behind it. And I ended up, I think I had another 2 weeks not on social media. So business was still going. I had bookings that I'd made sort of beforehand, but I just wasn't doing my usual before and afters or a reel after, or sort of talking on stories about what I was up to. I just had a break. But then when I did go back on, I had a new sort of energy for it.
Yeah, I love that. I think the digital detox is something to be said, because I know we as business owners put that pressure on ourselves, don't we? When we take a break, there's an element of guilt sometimes. Like you say, is it going to be there when we come back? Are we going to miss an opportunity that lands in the inbox if we're not monitoring it? But you can stop that to a certain extent. Like you say, you put an out of office on, you can just be kind of candid with your emails. But it's a social media that's so difficult. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that when I go on holiday next time. So I want Laura now. There's be no social media content, but I think that's great advice. Is there anything else for the listeners? Obviously, you said at the start you're so organised, and what sort of tips have you got for your organisation in sort of everyday life, running the business and running the children in the household?
Well, I mean, my organiser, the way I'm wired, I find, especially when, I mean, if I'm out with a client, that's one thing. But if I'm having a desk day or I've got admin to do, it's been a learning that I need to come up, I say upstairs, our office is up in the top room, to come upstairs and start work. I today have left absolute chaos downstairs in the living room, the kitchen, and that goes against my religion. But I am having to sort of teach myself to leave that so I can come and do some work, and I will sort it out later because it always gets done eventually. But normally how I'm wired is I need to get stuff like that done and out of the way first, because actually, tidy bed, tidy head, I can function better when things are clear and organised. And there's a few sort of little cheats that I do around the house which help me. And these would be helpful whether you run your own business or not, whether you're going out to work. But I have lots of baskets. So I've got my upstairs, downstairs basket that's usually in the living room, and bits and pieces, pajamas if the kids have got dressed in the living room, or toys that live upstairs, or, things that my husband might have left somewhere, in that basket. It still might need more than one trip a day, but then it's up and it's redistributed later. Similarly, I swear by sort of little belly baskets. I don't know if you know what I mean by that, like on the floor, just for quick and easy clear up. In my house, toys do all kind of have a place, but if you're doing a quick clear up because you just want everything to look neat for guests or just for your own peace of mind, just chuck it all in the basket and it can be put away properly later. Or better still, get the kids to do it, get them involved. It depends on their age and stage. And I'm always getting rid of stuff, not for my clients obviously, but for myself, because I just think, the less you have, the less you have to do. Having a good old clear out, taking stuff to the charity shop, passing things on to friends and family, it's getting things out of your way, and it's doing good, giving things on to other people. And I always keep a bag, like a donation bag, in the back of my wardrobe. So it doesn't even have to be set out to have, I'm having a declutter session. Just as you're putting the washing away, they've outgrown that. In the case of my son, he's ripped a whole hole in the knee of his trousers. Okay, they go in the bin, they don't go into the charity bag. But as you're putting stuff away, it's like, what could we get rid of, what don't we like anymore? Same for our own wardrobe, same for their toys. And when the bag's full, it goes to charity. And a lot of people struggle with toys because they feel like, I'm being really cruel. And it makes me feel like, oh my God, am I a bad mum? Because I just get rid of so many of their toys. But I use the bag as like a quarantine zone. And if there are noisy toys that are more babyish, they don't really play with, put them in there, out of sight, out of mind. If no one's asked for it for a month, it can go. But it needs to go, because if they see it again, it'll be like the best toy in the world.
That is a great tip. I have exactly that. There's an emotional attachment, like, oh no, grandma bought that. If grandma turns up, where's it gone? So yeah, absolutely love the basket idea as well, because I've currently got my daughter's pajamas screwed over the banister as I walk downstairs. She gets changed every morning. They sit on the banister until I come upstairs, and like this morning I'm rushing around. I'm so going to get the basket. That would make our,
and it's like little questions to ask yourself, you know, as you're looking at, so like, do you need it? Do you use it? Is it useful? Is it, you know, does it have a place home? And do you love it? Because sometimes things aren't necessarily used or useful, but they hold memories. But if the answer to those questions is no, you know, why have you got it? Why are you holding on to it?
Yeah, that's a great tip. I'm a bit of a hoarder, and we moved into a house with quite a lot of storage, so it just kind of gets put in a wardrobe and a cupboard, and then I do these massive
out of
deep
sight,
cleans.
out of mind.
Yeah, but then you have to be in the mindset to do the deep clean, don't you? So the fact that you've, like, the tip again about the bag in the wardrobe, that's great, because the amount of times I switch jumpers out and I think, oh, I don't need that, I've not worn that, but I just too much of an effort to go and get the bag from downstairs and think about taking it to the charity bin. So
and it's trying to
great.
take it away, like once that bag is full, take it to the charity shop. You know, I've
Absolutely.
been to some clients' houses where they've sort of said, oh, you know, sorry, they apologise for the state of them. It's like, for goodness sake, don't apologise. This is real life. You know, this is how people live, and this is what I do. But you know, I've looked at a room and maybe on the face of it thought, oh gosh, this is a big job. But actually, things were already bagged. Things were already in bags. It's like, you've already done the sort. It's just they've been sitting there in the spare room for 6 months or 2 years or whatever it is. Yeah, it's just the sooner things are gone, the better you feel, and you'll reap the rewards, I would say.
Absolutely. And yeah, and it's just like you say, it's I'm kind of like to come to my desk and know that things are organised, but then I'll use it as a distraction. So the quick zip around is definitely better than
Yes,
I'm going to
yeah.
spend an hour distracting myself by
You don't have
tidying.
to have a big, like, full day or several hour session, because if you start to get everything out and do it properly, you're going to make a big mess. Things get worse before they get better, and it does take time. And the reality is, you'll get halfway and then think, and shove it all back. So little by little is the way, I would say.
Super. So just final question then, what's the plan for Rebecca's Home Sort? Have you got kind of any goals for the business in the next few years? Or are you kind of going to go with your gut and the intuition and see where it takes you?
I have plans, and I have a to-do list as long as my arm. Some of the things have been on that to-do list for 2 years since I launched, like updating the website. That was launched 2 years ago and I haven't touched it. And there's content to put on it and gallery. It's having the time. And I think, as I'm noticing already, each year that passes, as the kids get more independent, I have got more time. You know, they're both in school hours now, so that's given me a bit more capacity. But I will go to that list every now and then. I'm just going to continue to let things grow sort of organically and naturally, I think. That's not to say that I don't have ambition and have sort of set a foundation of something that I think can be scalable, but I'm just going to be kind at the moment, because balance is still very important to me at the moment.
I love that, and it's so important to remind ourselves of that, isn't it? That's my biggest drive at the moment, that balance. And yeah, you can get hung up on the shiny things in the future and what we want to do, and it can kind of distract that because we get impatient and we want it now. So yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure to have you on, Rebecca. Thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Thank
I'm
you
sure
so
the listeners
much.
it. We'll be sure to tag the business in our socials. We push the podcast out as well. Once again, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. We rely heavily on word of mouth, so if you found value in this episode, please hit subscribe and share it with family and friends. If you'd like to find out a bit more about us, you can find us on our Facebook group, Parentrepreneurs Club, or alternatively on Instagram, Parentrepreneurs_club. We hope you have a great week, and we look forward to talking to you next time.